This next inductee, I personally had a chance to watch him play on the college level quite a bit. Some of you may know I do the play-by-play for the University at Albany, now in my 18th year. And this next player that I'm introduced played in 109 games at UAlbany. Was the captain of the team during his junior and senior seasons. Ninth on the all-time UAlbany scoring list. He was the Male Athlete of the Year at UA in 1999. Interesting, one of two players to combine for more than 1,000 points, 350 assists, and 150 steals in his career. Had a really nice run for 4 years in Europe, and then in Amsterdam with his dad as the coach, just lit it up. All-time leading scorer there, 1,600 points. All-time assist leader, all-time steals leader. 16th all-time leading scorer in Section 2 history. Had great seasons. Memorable one was the 94-95 year. They went 25-4. Ended up losing in the state title game to Poughkeepsie, but a great season. And another member, a two-time member of our News Channel 13 All-Star basketball team, and just a pleasure watching him play that point guard position so well. Let's congratulate and welcome into our Capital District Basketball Hall of Fame from Amsterdam and UAlbany, Todd Setner.
Thank you, Roger, for that introduction. Unlike my boy Brian Larrabee, I am not an academic All-American, so I wrote my speech down. Well, first of all, I want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee. This is truly an honor to be able to celebrate this night with all of the inductees, as well as those that have come before. To think that I'll forever be linked to certain individuals that have had a tremendous impact on me, and join the likes of people like my former coach, Doc Sowers at UAlbany, good buddy Andre Cook, fellow UAlbany alum and friend Jason Graber, and coaches like Brian Bury and Bill Scanlon and Mike Dean, to name a few that have been previously honored on this night before. You know, I take great pride in being from the Capital Region. Although if you ask anybody from the Big Ten if Amsterdam is actually part of the Capital Region that had to travel to play us, they absolutely disagree. But that pride was what made it so easy for me to accept that scholarship offer from Doc Sowers to stay local and attend the University at Albany, an easy one. You know, it gave me that continued support from my friends and family at the college level that I had during my high school career. It fulfilled the dream of being able to play Division I. But most importantly, it gave me the ability and the capacity to impact this region at the college level, being a local recruit. And to me, that's why this Hall of Fame is so important to me. It renders that the Hall of Fame committee felt that I did something right as a player and as a person. And I'm not exactly sure what the criteria was for my nomination, but what I do believe is the reason that I stand before you today was due to my passion and commitment to the game of basketball. And for that, again, I want to thank Rennie and everyone else that took part in my nomination for believing that I was a player that was just a part of the sum that has allowed for this great basketball tradition here in Section 2. You know, I was just like every other kid growing up. I dreamed of hitting a winning shot to win the game, earning a college scholarship, winning championships, and ultimately at some level playing professionally. But the one thing I never thought about was giving a Hall of Fame induction speech. And about 10 months ago, I was fortunate enough to be inducted into the University at Albany Hall of Fame. And I got to tell you something, I gave my best material that night, thinking I'd never have to give another Hall of Fame speech again. And here I am trying to conjure one up, but I'll tell you, my biggest concern is that if there happens to be a Hall of Fame for Best Husband, I'm going to have to craft yet another one. So So that leads me to who's here to support me tonight. I want to quickly recognize my wife, Chrissy, who is here, along with my in-laws, both Dave and Chris Stack, and my wife's grandfather, Tom Stack, is also here. I have my immediate family, and as Roger alluded to, my father, who was my coach on varsity for 4 years and coached in Amsterdam for 31. My mom is here, along with her husband, Bill, and my sister Tammy is here as well. Now, I'm reluctant to tell you that my sister Tricia is not here tonight. She lives in Boston with her family, and she now has a record of 0-2 for Hall of Fame rushing season. So, Tammy, you remain my favorite sister. And I have, rounding my table, I have two close friends, both Bob Vassy and Ron Barone, and those two individuals have been unconditional supporters throughout my career, both on and off the court. And that table right there has been the absolute core of my success. And I thank them for their support. You know, when I think about this honor, I think of a question, and it's kind of odd, that has followed me my entire career. And people would always say to me, Todd, you ever get sick of it? You ever get sick of playing the game? And for the life of me, I could not figure out why someone would ask me that question. But as I reflected on my career, I started to think about maybe the reason behind it. It's all they ever saw me do. And it sounds a little cliche, but I prided myself on being the first player to practice and the last one to leave. You know, we would practice every day at Amsterdam from 3 to 5, and my dad would blow the whistle at 3 and huddle the team at half court. And every player would look in his eye at that moment as he talked about the agenda for that day's practice. And I would look at this clock that was at the center court of Amsterdam High School. And it was at that point every day that I wished that clock would stop working. So I just didn't want practice to end. Makes me think of another story. I got mad at my father 12 times in 4 years. And it came 3 times every year. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Those were the only 3 days he wouldn't schedule a team practice, and it drove me crazy. But looking back, you know, I understand why. You know, during the season, if we weren't practicing or playing, I was that kid that was shoveling at least a path in his backyard to get some shots up in the middle of winter, or make a couple moves to the hoop. And in the summer, all my friends would be swimming and hanging out, and I'd go over to Bob Vassy's court, because that's where the games were, and I just played for hours. I can remember the first time I ever stepped on his court. I didn't know him very well, so I was out there playing, and the front door opens up, and here comes Bob out, walking fairly swiftly with a broom in his hand. I'm thinking, shit, maybe I should ask him if I should use his car. I thought he was going to hit me with it. And that broom has been synonymous with taking my set shot that I stepped on his court with when I was in 8th grade or 7th grade into my jump shot. If there was a park, I was at it. If there was a game, I knew about it. And for whatever reason growing up, if I had to be inside, I'd put this Nerf hoop up over my doorway. I'm sure we've all had it. I'd have Bobby Hurley highlights on one TV, I'd have Michael Jordan video on the other, and I would mimic their every move. And I would do that until my mom would come storming in and get mad I was making noise, and she'd rip it down and throw it in the garbage. You know, during college, I was the guy that I stayed every summer to work on my game and just find a way I could to get an edge. And when I graduated, a lot of my teammates, classmates, and friends were preparing for the corporate world and getting ready to find a job. I packed my bags, I flew to Europe, and I followed a dream. You know, all of these examples, I believe, are likely the reason that I got asked that question. And the answer to that question has always been no. Because you can't get sick of something you're passionate about and committed to. You know, you talk about commitment. I recently saw a video on YouTube. I believe it was Chris Carter. He's a former NFL player, Hall of Famer in his own right. And he was talking to a group of kids. And he said to these kids, I realized something. When I started studying successful people, what I realized successful people do is they don't go by the days, they go by the hours. So if you have 24 hours in a day, and you're sleeping 8 of those hours, well, between sleeping, eating, talking on the phone, watching TV, and dealing with anything unexpected that came up during the day, you essentially have 6 to 7 hours in a day to be successful, and that's not a lot of time. And that message related to me because I believe success is intentional, and deliberate. And if I wasn't on the basketball court, I felt someone was gaining an advantage on me. And it wasn't just about me. It was about my team. Because if I didn't come fully prepared, well, then I let my team down, and then I let myself down. And a leader doesn't allow that. And I know I'm on a time limit here, and I want to end by just acknowledging the best team that I've ever played on. I was the point guard, of course, but you can't be a good point guard without two really good wingmen. And in this case, they're wing women, and that was my sisters. You know, they were my biggest cheerleaders. They were my biggest supporters. Although they didn't show it all the time in front of me because they wanted to keep my ego in check at the time, I know they were proud of me. Matter of fact, for Tammy, I remember the exact day that she showed how proud she was of me and her gratitude towards me. I received a phone call from her, and she said to me, "I just want to let you know how lucky I am to have you as a brother." I said, "Oh, this is weird. Where's Tammy and what have you done with my sister?" And she said, "Well, I just got pulled over by a trooper for speeding." So he asked me for my license and registration. I handed it to him. He looked at it, sees the last name Setner, and he asked, "Are you related to the basketball player, Todd Setner?" Of course, she said, "Well, yeah, it's my brother." He handed the license back to her and said, "Drive safe and have a good day," and pulled away. So sometimes making a jump shot works off the court as well. The foundation of the team and the heart and soul of that team was my mom. My mom was the strength, the grace, the support, and I've said this before, she is the absolute backbone of our family. She never wavered in tough times, never ever showed a weakness, and under no circumstances, not once, did my mom ever want the spotlight. My mom only cared about the well-being of her kids, and to this day, Tammy remains her favorite. But my mom, she made everybody around her better, and that's what I tried to emulate on the basketball court. And lastly, the leader of that team and the coach was obviously my father when it came to the game of basketball. My dad technically coached me for 4 years, but he's been coaching me for 36. He's taught me preparation is key. He's made me an absolute perfectionist. I used to make a shot and it hit the rim, but it went in, and he'd say, "Well, good shooters don't hit the rim." And it's funny because I play in all these over 30 league games, and I still get mad at myself when I make a shot and hit the rim, but that's what he's instilled in me. He taught me toughness and never give up, and these are just a few examples, but he ultimately taught me the game of basketball and how to play it the right way and how to use that to excel in the game of life. So this team right here deserves all the credit for allowing me to be up here tonight. So with that, thank you for your time, and I appreciate everything. Thank you.
I'd like to tell everybody that there's a few people here tonight that got tremendous support for induction every year from year one on. This gentleman right here is one of them, and I'm proud to say he is probably the best basketball player ever in Amsterdam. Thank you, Tom. We're going to change our schedule a little bit tonight. We're going to